going to give more HAAB and COAC members an opportunity to join us in the virtual space, but we appreciate you jumping on. Um, Give us just a moment and we will get our meeting started. Hello there. Uh-oh, you're unmuted, but I still can't hear you, Mr. Birch. No, you're silent. Yeah, maybe try and come back in the room.
How about that?
There you go.
Had to change speakers. Hello, everyone.
There you go. Hello, good evening. Ooh, I see some good light and sunshine behind folks.
And
We
it's
will get
warm.
going shortly. We're just giving folks just a few more moments to join in the space. Good evening, good evening. Thanks for joining us for our joint HAB and COAC OTC update. We're going to give folks just maybe 1 or 2 more minutes to join us in the virtual room, but thanks for your patience. See more folks joining us. Just a couple more moments. A full house tonight. So good to see all of you in the virtual space. We're going to give just 1 more minute as folks are coming into the virtual room, and we'll get started with our update. Beautiful. Good evening for those who just joined us and those who might be joining us on the live stream. My name is Erica Warren. Tonight we are providing an update to our historic Albina Advisory Board as well as the Community Oversight Advisory Committee regarding the I-5 Rose Quarter project. And we are giving just 1 more moment for folks to join us in the virtual meeting, and we will get going. Let's see, MJ, if you are sharing our slides, we can go ahead and get those up on screen and we will begin our time together tonight.
Great. Isabel, are you sharing slides? Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much. I wasn't sure. Well, again, good evening to everyone who's joined us in the virtual room. Again, my name is Erica Warren, and tonight we are here to bring updates for the I-5 Rose Quarter Historic Albina Advisory Board, as well as the Community Oversight Advisory Committee. And we appreciate you joining us. We will continue to allow more of our HAAB and COAC members to join us in the room. If you are in the waiting room, please identify yourself if you don't have your name connected to your ID so that our IT team can help us get those folks in the virtual space. If you're a member of the public, there is a link for you to join the live stream on YouTube. Next slide, please. Make sure if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, our team is available to assist you. Next slide. Look at all those beautiful faces, our COAC and our HAAB. Next slide. This evening should be a fairly informative, but we don't have to belabor our time together in our effort to continue to be transparent about all things moving forward. In the Rose Quarter Project, we have convened to provide an update regarding the March OTC meeting. So we will have an opportunity here shortly for public comment. And then you'll be hearing from our project director as well as David from ODOT. Next slide. You all know we'll have an opportunity to hear your questions regarding the update today. So I trust that you all know we want to hear from you. Your voice matters. You are always authentic and genuine. Listen for understanding. We have been working on this, dealing with issues and not people, as we all are working towards a transformative project. Some of that means we might experience some discomfort with all of the passion that is assigned to this particular area and the path that we're taking. But we ask that if you do experience discomfort, you remain respectfully engaged. Tonight is an update for you all, so we trust that you will continue to accept that we won't be able to solve everything tonight, but this again is the project team's commitment to making sure that you are aware, and we thank you for being here. We thank our partners as well for joining us on the call. We have folks from Metro, from the Oregon Trucking Association, as well as from the City of Portland, and hopefully AVT. So we thank our partners for joining us in this space as well. Next slide, please. At this time, I will pass it along to my colleague to help us facilitate public comment if there's anyone waiting in the room.
Thanks, Erica. We invite members of the public viewing the live stream to call in and make a verbal public comment at this time. If you wish to do so, please dial the phone number shown on the slide. And then when prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode that are shown below. After doing so, you'll be placed in a virtual waiting room until your turn. And when we call on you, we'll invite you to unmute yourself and say your comment. You'll have up to 2 minutes to do so, and then you'll be muted at time. And if you'd like to provide more extensive comments, please see the options that are listed on the meeting agenda. We do have someone in the waiting room who is not identified who may be a public commenter, so I will go ahead and admit them, and we will see if it is a public comment. So There is someone with the name Zoom user. Are you here to make a public comment for members of the HAAB and COAC?
Are you
Hello.
talking about, is it me that
Oh.
you're talking about?
Yes, Mr. Washington.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, your name is showing as a different name than your actual name, so thank you for
I'm sorry for
identifying
that.
yourself. That's
Yeah,
okay. That's
I'm on my phone.
it happened.
I'll get to my computer in a minute. Yeah.
Of course,
Excellent.
it's
Well, I'm
John.
He's an
glad to get you
important
into the
Zoom
space.
user.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. Okay, with that, I'm checking to see if there's anyone else in the waiting room and not seeing anyone. Um, Again, if you want to make a public comment, you can call the phone number on the slide and enter the meeting ID and passcode, and that will put you in the queue. I'm still not seeing any public comments, so I will pass it to you, Erica.
Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate it. Again, as Natalie mentioned, there are many ways for you to provide comment for the HAAB and COAC. So please reference the meeting agenda and avail yourself to all of those options. Next slide, please. All right. At this time, we will be having an update from ODOT. And so I believe that I am passing it to Monica, who would introduce David. But David, I think you could just
Yeah.
jump in.
I'll just go ahead and jump in. I'm David Kim with ODOT, kind of wearing two hats right now, statewide project delivery manager, but also project delivery support for the Rose Quarter project. Got a couple of updates as follow-up to our last HAAB COAC meeting. There was a request to see if we can get either the governor or our interim director to attend a future HAAB COAC meeting. And we did make that request to the director, and she is planning on attending the next HAAB COAC meeting. I know there's a lot going on right now, but it is on her calendar, and if she can attend, I think it's a great opportunity for her to get acquainted with both of these committees and the project. And we're going to be providing more detailed updates to several of the new leaders within ODOT to have a good understanding of the project and the momentum behind the project and how this project is impacting not just the region, but the state. Second item I have is a short legislative session. So the short session lasted 33 days out of 35, so they ended early. They passed 143 new laws. And as we were going into short session, there was a significant budget gap within ODOT. As you may recall, last year, there was a special session convened by Governor Kotek that resulted in some fee and gas tax increases to address the funding shortfall or the budget shortfall that ODOT had. There was a referendum that paused those revenue and fee increases that resulted in a roughly almost, I want to say, $300 million gap. And absent any action by the legislature during the short session would have resulted in significant layoffs at ODOT. I'm happy to say that the legislature did step up, and there were some bills that were passed that resulted in the legislature redirecting program funds and project funds to make up about $218 million of the $300 million shortfall. Of the $218 million, $126 million were projects that had unobligated balances, meaning they had not been committed yet. And the good news is the Rose Quarter project was not affected by the project redirects. That was one of the concerns we had. There's another $92 million of one-time fund transfers out of other programs that we have, like Safe Routes to Schools and Connect Oregon. And so that $92 million will also shore up ODOT maintenance and operations. And then as revenues are generated, those programs will resume next year. but there's still a balance of about almost $80 million, and that balance of $80 million is basically reduced budget for the agency. So what we're going to do is, out of the roughly 750 vacancies we have today, we'll hold at least 130 positions vacant to make up for that shortfall, if not more. And so the challenge right now for ODOT is trying to fill key positions to keep the agency running, primarily on the maintenance and operations side, but as well as project delivery. Again, no impacts to ODOT because for the Rose Quarter project, because we're fully staffed and we have a strong support from our consultant partners. The last item I had was that Kelly Brooks, who is the governor's transportation policy advisor, attended the OTC meeting last week, and she indicated that the governor is forming a bipartisan transportation panel that will comprise of legislators, one of our OTC members, as well as key industry and transportation partners across the states. I'm going to assume cities and counties. I expect some information to come out this week or next week by the governor's office, but this panel will help frame up what a 2027 transportation funding package may look like. And I would expect that there will be committees that focus on major projects, and there'll probably be a committee that focuses on maintenance and operations. And so part of the work that we do moving forward is teeing up the future phases of Rose Quarter to see how a funding package could help support the Rose Quarter project moving forward. And so I think the feedback and input and partnership we have with City, AVT, Metro, the Oregon Trucking Association, and the partnership we have with the communities is going to be vital to the success of conversations for a Rose Quarter project. So more to come. And once that press release comes out from the governor's office, we'll be sure to share it with all of you so you know who's on the committee. So that is my
David, thank you. Yes, thank you so much, David. I'll open it up briefly if there are any questions from committee members regarding David's update. I'm seeing no hands. All right, we are going to move ahead, and thank you again for that. I will be turning it over to our interim project director, Monica Blanchard.
Thank you, Erica, and good evening, everyone. I'm Monica Blanchard. I'm the interim project director for Rose Quarter. If you want to go to the next slide. So I'm going to give, as Erica mentioned, a quick update on the OTC meeting and the feedback that we received. So starting as a quick reminder of what I presented at your February meeting, the OTC conditionally approved the project to move forward with the available $167.5 million in construction funding, and that happened at their December meeting. That conditional approval required us to do some additional partner collaboration on the scope of Phase 1B and return to the Commission at the March meeting for an update. And so that's what we did last week. We had a very good Commission meeting last week, and I'm just going to walk through some of the highlights as well as the feedback, like I mentioned, from the commissioners, and then we can open it up for any questions or comments at the end. So first, really, I want to thank everyone who provided written and verbal testimony at the meeting. It is really important that the Commission continues to hear everybody's voice and everybody's perspective. So I want to just share my appreciation and the team's appreciation for everyone that engaged in that way. Diving into the meeting itself, we started off with testimony from 3 of our PMG members and project partners, specifically that authored the letter to the OTC at their December meeting that kind of spurred this additional coordination. So we had JT Flowers with AVT, Millicent Williams, the director of PBOT, and Ted Liebold with Metro. They shared their thoughts on the project management group and our collaboration process that we went through to move forward with Phase 1B and really all future phases of work on the project. They emphasized the constructive nature of our working groups and encouraged continuing PMG meetings in the future for future phases. JT also shared news about the authorization of federal funding through the Consolidated Appropriations Act, the $30 million in RCN dollars for RCN grant recipients. I know JT talked about that a little bit at the February meeting with this group. Millicent, shared her appreciation for the Commission's direction in December and ODOT's continued partnership, and really reinforced PBOT's commitment to the project and continuing to work together in a successful way. Ted highlighted really the amount of work that went into adopting all of Phase 1 into the Metro STIP and MTIP, and really shared the appreciation for the OTC's leadership in ensuring that all future phases of the work move forward. So the entire team is really appreciative of the support and dedication from the city and Metro and ABT, and really all our project partners and staff that are participating in the PMG meetings, and that is moving the project forward. And then if we go to the next slide, so after the partner testimony, I walked through the current status of Phase 1A construction, which was very similar to the presentation that you saw at the February meeting. And then after that update, I dove into a lot of the details of our PMG meetings, what we evaluated, and ultimately how we aligned on the construction scope that you're seeing on the screen. This part of the presentation to the Commission was also very similar to what you saw at your February meeting when we were at the Albina Library. But just as a reminder, the major construction elements that are in Phase 1B are widening the bridge structure over the Rose Quarter Transit Center and reconstructing that transit center infrastructure. There's I-5 seismic upgrades and bridge deck resurfacing along I-5. Reconstructing the transitions, providing improved shoulders along I-5, and then installing new signage and variable message signs on I-5 as well. So then on the next slide, so we got a lot of great feedback from the Commission on the work we're doing, and really also some feedback on how we can continue to improve as we move forward, kind of breaking it down into 5 different categories. First, with legislative collaboration. Commissioners noted, well, it's gratifying, that we have these long-standing commitments and partnerships that we're maintaining through PMG and alignment on Phase 1B scope. The OTC is perceiving some mixed messages when they're talking to other legislators and partners, so they really urge the project team and our partners, our project partners, to really consider how we could do more and get more legislators and stakeholders on board with the alignment that we have on the project. Regarding the funding strategy, again, they were really encouraged by the increased collaboration between the partners to support a cohesive message to the legislature on the future phases and future funding opportunities. And they also stated, that it's really going to take everyone coming to the table at a federal, state, regional, and local level to develop that funding strategy to move the project forward. We got a lot of appreciation for the work that the PMG is doing. They provided a lot of positive feedback on the working group process and the outcomes that we are getting. With regard to PMG, one commissioner, in response to a public comment, did ask the team to consider making PMG meetings public, and we're just going to discuss that with our PMG members. PMG has been structured to be a staff level working group, similar to other PMG projects that have PMGs in the region. And we do report out, publicly on the work that we are doing in the PMG, both at your quarterly meetings as well as all of the OTC meetings and any other regional commissions, committees, or councils where the project is scheduled to present. For construction progress, the Commission enjoyed hearing about the construction progress that's underway and really commended the workforce videos as the same videos that we shared at the February meeting. We shared those with the Commission as well. I also wanted to note that we now have the long form versions of those videos are available on the website, and those can be shared with others in your network, and our team can get you the link to those after the meeting as well. Commissioners, they really also welcomed frequent detailed project updates at future OTC meetings, really to keep all audiences informed and brought into the project's purpose and the progress. Seeing work on the ground has a big impact on the commissioners and on showing the progress that we're making. One commissioner did ask for follow-up based on a public comment regarding prompt payment for subcontractors and specifically, the financial strain that can put on cash flow for small businesses. Our construction team is, we do detailed tracking on a monthly basis on all of our payment timelines. So we're diving into that data and we'll follow up with the commission on how Rose Quarter is doing on prompt payment. The comment was a general payment on public works projects and the timeline that takes. So we're following up to demonstrate what we are doing on Rose Quarter. And then lastly, the commission really emphasized the importance of this project, not only on the local and regional level, but really on the statewide economic benefits that the project has. And on the screen, we've got a quote from OTC Chair Brown, where she was discussing at the end of the meeting how this project has economic benefit for everyone in the state, including people like herself that live in Southern Oregon that rely on the corridor for freight movement. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Erica and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Monica. As she mentioned, this is your opportunity, HAAB and COAC members. If you have questions in regards to anything that you've heard tonight regarding the March OTC meeting and next steps. So I'll open the floor for questions. You all are awfully quiet on this Wednesday.
Erica,
Yes.
quick question. So coming out of the OTC meeting, what do you see for us as next steps? And so that I think because we focus so much on getting to this meeting that now what are we going to focus on as our next steps?
Great question, Monica.
Yeah, so great question. So, getting to the OTC meeting was phase 1B, which is the next phase of construction. So now our PMG focus is the next phase beyond that. So what we're calling phase 1C right now. So as a group, the PMG is looking at both the scope of phase 1C and a funding and financing strategy, and really with the ultimate goal of returning to the commission at their August meeting to present what the project team feels like is an option to move forward into the legislative session. And as David mentioned, the governor is also setting the table with that task force, if you will. And so our work as a PMG and as a project team will feed into that and be able to inform, legislators for the 27 session, as well as be ready for any federal funding opportunities that come up in the next year as well.
Thanks, Monica.
Yeah, and this is David. Let me chime in. I think the immediate next step is we're now moving full speed ahead with the design of 1B, getting work into the construction contract, but also working on a larger amendment for other aspects of the work. And that's the beauty of the delivery model we have today is we have a contractor that's on board. We don't go through a low bid process and procure it. We negotiate the contract value, and so we can get the work out quicker. And the beauty of all this is continuous construction, keep the businesses that are involved in the work busy through the next year and a half.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts or questions? I'm trying to monitor hands. Must mean that we have been extremely thorough. Any other thoughts from partners who might be on the line? Well, we definitely don't want to hold people just to hold them, but I think what you're hearing is that The project team has done a lot of work to make sure that all of the key partners are engaged, that they are giving input. There's a lot of work going on with the technical teams at the city as well as the project team. Community is represented in the conversations as well. So to you all's kind of charge to make sure that we are aligned. The project partners are doing that, and we're optimistic that we can continue this trajectory in order to keep the project moving, to keep small businesses moving, to keep the contractors working, and to really, really set a precedent for this kind of anchor, if you will, transformational project that is in the middle of an area that is going to experience, hopefully over the next few years, such a great transformation with all of the work that is happening with Albina Vision Trust, with the 1803 Fund, with the Albina Rose Alliance, and the Portland Trailblazers in Rip City. And so this is a critical spine, if you will, in the middle of such a great development. And so we're excited to continue this trajectory of collaboration. There's some tough conversations that we're having, but everyone is at the table. So we want to make sure that you all, as committee members, as well as the public, are abreast of all of the work that is being done to continue to keep the commitment to the community and to the state to moving this project forward. So if there's no more questions, we don't have to keep you. Mr. David, I see your hand.
Yeah, I do have an ask of
Yes.
those on this call or meeting. I think, when we look at a project, the Rose Quarter project is unique in that it's not just a project, right? It's an investment in the community. And I like to say the process of building these projects is just as important or more important than the outcome of the project itself. And where we can get testimonials or stories, I think it sends a very, very powerful message that resonates with others. And so the 3 that we did with the commission, very, very powerful, left a lasting impression on the commissioners. I would love to see if we can get more stories from our partners, Jana, on the trucking industry, having truckers say what the impact is to the movement of freight and goods, right? Or to the HAAB and COAC members of what are you hearing from the community, and what's your involvement been on the project from a input standpoint, from a engagement standpoint, and from small businesses and workers as well. I think there's some very powerful testimonials there that will resonate with people across the state. It resonated with our commissioners. So I would anticipate it would also resonate with the legislature. And so if you have thoughts or ideas, please reach out to the Rose Quarter Project team, Erica or Janelle, because we want to capture those stories and be a place to demonstrate that the return on it on this investment is massive. And there's lots of untold stories, and the more that we can be proactive in telling those stories, I think the more we have going for this project.
That's so key. Thank you, David. I do see a hand from Katrina.
Hey, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody in the group, some of you have heard me talk about this, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of some proposed rule changes that were happening inside the Bureau of Labor and Industries and the Apprenticeship and Training Division that affect all of the projects and especially meeting goals. The first one is that Foley ATD is proposing a change to restrict prior credit from apprentices to a 50% cap. And how that relates over to a project, it means that travelers, whether you're in a licensed or an unlicensed trade, would be restricted from being able to only have a 50% cap. They're trying to match they're trying to close the window for a few bad actors, and they are proposing that they match the federal guidelines. The president is currently in the process of changing that because he is interested in expanding registered apprenticeship across the nation. So there's been testimony a couple times at the Oregon State Apprenticeship and Training Council against this. There were numerous letters and There was a Rules and Policy Subcommittee meeting that was held, and unfortunately, the subcommittee agreed to, despite there were 7 for and like 90 something opposed, they decided to move it forward to full council at the meeting last week. And unfortunately, the full council decided to move it forward to a unformed, unknown who will be on it, Rules and Policies Stakeholder Subcommittee meeting after probably 30 minutes of public testimony against. They still decided to move it forward with a approval to enact the restriction, which is very unfortunate. I know that there's lots of entities that are getting involved now. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. The same kind of process also with the second one, which is a much, much bigger deal to this committee, is the restriction of apprentices to their apprenticeship work processes, to their standards. And so what that means is if you have an apprentice registered in an occupation and you are an open shop program, currently you are able to work your apprentice as a journey worker in a different occupation as long as you are paying the correct wage and they're working at a journey level. It's appropriate and approved in current prevailing wage laws. That also, an example would be somebody that is, excuse me, we have a female apprentice who is currently in our operators program, heavy equipment operators program. She went through she went through the laborers apprenticeship program, and she has her Oregon State Journey card. Under this new proposed rule, instead of being able to allow that apprentice, if their journey worker is out sick for the day or needs to leave early for a doctor's appointment, they are now to be, if with this passes its final law changes, the apprentice would need to be sent home. They wouldn't be able to work under that labor journey card that they earned in the apprenticeship program. And the reason that's a big deal is we're hearing from a lot of contractors that they're just going to pull out of an apprenticeship, and that it's a big deal. It also affects non-traditional trades and industrial programs as well, which doesn't affect this particular group on those, but on the construction side, it definitely does. And I definitely urge everybody who is a stakeholder and listening to this to reach out to the director, get informed, reach out to your contractors, see how that's going to affect them. Because we are hearing from a lot of contractors that it's going to affect them even bidding future work, and it will restrict the number of apprentices they'll be able to have. And the particular apprentice that I was talking about, she said she would just need to leave the program because she can't afford to be sent home. She's got children. So it's a big issue. Please talk about it. Please make an informed decision and spread the word on whichever side of the argument you're on. Thank you.
Katrina, thank you for all of that really great information. I trust that those on the call will avail themselves to that information and continue to advocate. I do see a hand for Mr. Modica.
Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Kevin Modica, I've been a member of the HAAB for multiple years. And so my question is to Mr. Kim. Respectfully, sir, I appreciate the invite to make comment, but we've spent the last 60 months making comment, both to the OTC and to other legislators. What difference is it going to make now?
You know, the projects have had a lot of twists and turns, politically as well as financially. I think that, you know, the biggest difference that I see with this project versus other projects is there's strong advocacy for this project. And if we don't continue to lean in and push, then it's going to fall in line with the other large projects that we have in the state. And I think that's what's kept this project alive, is the advocacy and the push by the community, by the contractor, by the partners. Absent that, we may not be meeting right now. And so I think the continued lean in and reinforcing the commitments and promises that were made. I think one of the challenges is with time, you have transitions, right? We have a new director, interim director. We're going to be getting a new transportation commissioner. There's new legislators. And so getting them up to speed to understand what's the importance of this project from a generational standpoint, from an equity standpoint, from a contracting standpoint. And so I think just having our voices continue to be heard until this project is built is going to be really important. And that's why it takes the partnership of all. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, I appreciate your pep talk. Not to diminish what you said. I appreciate your optimism, but I would imagine a great wager would be to poll everyone on the HAAB and ask them what their thoughts are on continued testimony to people who don't hear it, who haven't valued this project, funded Abernathy Bridge, which is over budget and not finished, instead of this project, finished 217 instead of doing anything on this project, and have us settle for a scoop full of dirt and some erosion bales and say, we've started the project. And, you know, I'm not the smartest guy on the call, but I'm insulted, right? So if there's anything you can pass on before any of us go down and testify to the legislature, tell them we are insulted. Tell them we do not have their respect because of how this has turned out, right? I'm not concerned with blaming Trump or anybody else. If you can make a commitment to finish and start the interstate crossing, and Governor Ferguson can say they're going to build the doggone bridge, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. I mean, I'm very passionate about this, Mr. Kim. I don't know as if I've ever met you. Welcome aboard. But I think you're going to be getting this type of sentiment. You know, there's people that were very valuable as community members who sat on the HAAB and left because they read the future. They made a predictable forecast. And, you know, it's just not enough to, you know, pat people on the shoulder and say, go down and tell them the story. They know the doggone story.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, here we are 8 years later from when the project was funded. And there's not a lot to show for it, right? I mean, we have phase 1A that's doing some deck repairs and some minor safety improvements. We're making progress with 1B now. And so I think we're making some headway, but there's still a heavy lift ahead of us. And, you know, the major setback of losing the grant funds has certainly impacted the project in many ways. And the community trust is a big one. And so I appreciate your perspective, and it's not lost on me. And that's why I'm here. That's why we're going to the commission often, giving them updates. And I think, you know, last commission meeting we had with them, there was high optimism. They actually said it was one of the best presentations that they've received, and they want to hear more from us. And then we have our partners like the Oregon Trucking Association that has also explained the critical nature of this project from a safety and operation and congestion standpoint. So we have a lot of momentum going, and in order to maintain that momentum, we just continue to need to lean in. And I know it can be tiring and exhausting because this isn't a sprint. It's turning out to be a marathon.
Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
nice words. I mean, I appreciate all of that, but I'm just going to say it. And if anyone on here that resembles me disagrees, please disagree. But Black voices have come and gone. The best Black voices have come and spoken. And as you say, leaned into it. Mm-hmm. We've watched a director get sacrificed, a couple of project managers get sacrificed. You know, we saw someone brought in and not treated well. And, you know, it just seems to me that, once again, the trust has been broken. The trust has been broken. And yeah, we recognize this is a marathon project and a legacy project, and whatever is built will be around for 100 or more years. But you know, I don't see any common will from the electeds. I do not hear that. I do not hear that from the governor. I do not hear that from our electeds. And so, I just am indebted to tell you where I am at, right? Before I will commit to making any testimony, I need to know more, and I need to have more than just a pep talk. I mean, that's real talk from me.
Well, and I would say it's not just pep talk, right? We've broken ground. We have construction underway right now with phase 1A, right? We have a contractor on board, and we're now moving forward phase 1B. And what we're trying to do now is position the project for phase 1C. And I've been with ODOT a long time, and I would hope that the relationships I've built within the community and the contractors, I know several on the call. I think they can vouch for my commitment to the community and to the projects. And I'm thrilled that we're finally able to actually get contracts out the door. So I agree that actions speak louder than words, and I'm here to try to support getting more of that action underway.
Mr. Kim, I appreciate you, and believe me, I'm not shooting the messenger, but I know the contractors that are on the call as well. And I know what they've gone through, and I know what their sentiment has been. And so, not trying to contrast who has the better relationships and so forth. But I mean, if you call what is present breaking ground, then call it breaking ground.
Understood.
Thank you. Appreciate the healthy dialogue. Jana, I saw your hand raised.
I wasn't sure whether I could comment to your committee or not, but when Kevin spoke up, I thought I needed to say something as well. This has been the Rose Quarter project, and actually adding capacity to the roadway there has been Oregon Trucking Association's *1 objective for years. The reason that project had dedicated funding in House Bill 2017 was because that's what it took to get OTA support for the bill. Unfortunately for us, during the pandemic, those dollars got diverted because there was so much unsettled about the Rose Quarter project at that point in time. And so they started the project on the Abernathy Bridge. But I can promise you that in terms of any kind of additional transportation package in the future, it's going to be very hard to get the support from the payers of the system. And mind you, we pay about 40% of the system. It's going to be hard to get that support without a strong commitment to completing this project.
Appreciate that, Jana.
Thank you.
Indeed. Any additional thoughts or questions?
Hey, Erica, this Dr. Richard,
Yes.
question for David. So when we started this process and project years ago, in the very beginning, there was a strong support that equity would be at the center. And in direct relation to Kevin Modica's comment, one, it's just a question. Has the focus of equity being centered lost to politics?
I don't know that I'm in a position, just to be completely transparent, in a position to answer that question because I haven't been on the project long enough. I've only been on this project for 5 months. I know that we have strong values associated with this project, equity being one of those major values. I think as we continue to educate and inform those that may be newer to the project, I think reminding them of the equity values is really important. I think we're seeing that play out through the contracting process, through the leadership of Jeff Moreland and the HSJV, and of the outputs of the project as relates to the cover and the partnership we have with Albina Vision Trust. So I think there are elements of equity weaved throughout. Can we do a better job of telling the story there? I think so. But as it relates to the politics, I can't really speak to that because I'm just too new to the project to understand the history. And I'm trying to get myself up to speed on that right now.
I appreciate that. And so when I use the term equity, I'm not using that term synonymous with ethnicity in terms of contractors and who's on the project.
Okay.
Right. So you have this concept of equity, which says we're going to give a community what they need. We're going to provide this community with resources that's actually going to help this particular community thrive. Okay. So my question is different from the fact that we may have some contractors who represent various ethnic and diverse backgrounds. That's fine. My question is more centered at elected officials. Okay, that's where my question is centered.
Okay.
So I don't know if any of those elected officials are on with us, but since you work for ODOT, my question goes to you. Because what I'm sensing is that with the project as a whole, we are moving more and more away, not so much from the outputs, but from the equitable outcomes that we all agreed to in the beginning, right? So it's not about values and what people value. I think a value may be there, but last question, and I'm going on mute. Are we still on track to get those equitable outcomes? And before you answer yes, please think about that question. I yield back.
Can I jump in here, Erica, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff.
So I don't think that anybody can control the current political climate that we're in. I would say that we all been fighting tooth and nail to stay true to what we proposed 6 years ago. Again, me and David's relationship goes back almost 20 years with him advocating, try to do this piece of it. And I just think that it's unfortunate where we are, but the reality is where we are. So how do we take chicken poop or take how do we make chicken salad with chicken poop is what we're trying to deal with right now and nobody can control what's going on. Nobody can, right? And it's been unfortunate. They pulled so much funding. It's been a mess, right? And I don't think that ODOT can answer that question. Nobody on this call can answer that question. It is what it is. We're all fighting tooth and nail, right? I look at, just our company is how much we've been affected by this as an overall, and we're working to the best we can to try to move it forward collectively with what the values are in this room. So even though those values are not valued outside of this room.
And that's my issue.
Control that.
That's my issue. When it came to moving at the speed of light to save the Trailblazers and the Motor Center, they did it. The electeds, they came together. They had press conferences. They all gave their support. They all gave their commitment that they wanted to keep the Trailblazers, and they did. So I hear what you're saying. But at the end of the day, how messages about equity being centered are important, and those same messages that are not voiced are also important. So it's not that we all here are fighting. My issue is not with us on this call. My issue is when I see electeds say over in one space that it's difficult and we got decisions to make, but over in another space, they saved the land that was stolen from Black folks. I got a problem with it. I'm sorry. My passion is coming out. I yield back to Miss Erica, but we have to take this into account. And I don't think that we should allow electeds, one, not to come to us to offer an explanation. When it came to the Blazers and the Motor Center, they offered explanation. They told us how imperative it was to keep the Trailblazers in Portland, and they came up together with the funding to do the renovations to keep the Trailblazers there. How can one man, Adam Silver, come from out of state, tell us that the Motor Center is not up to date and people move at the speed of light, but they can't do it with the I-5 bridge? We need to hold people accountable. Okay, that's all I'm saying. We need to hold people accountable. And the folks that are the electeds who are not here, I get it. But if you work for a government agency and you're here representing them, you are representing those electeds who have taken no action. So let's just be honest. If we're going to be honest and have an honest conversation and not try to stop the ball from rolling down the hill, we got to have an honest conversation. Sorry, so I yield back to you, Miss Erica.
It's all right, Dr. Richard. Thank you so much for your comments. I think some of that is not to quote David, but holding them accountable means we have to continue to speak to them. We have to continue to be in their faces, and we are their constituents. It is our right to question, to hold accountable, and to advocate for. I see another hand in the room, Bryson.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that kind of gets to the original question of, why make the public comment, right? Like, how can we ensure that elected officials know how we feel about various aspects of the directions they've taken if we're not getting up there and telling them how we feel each time we have the opportunity? And I think a big component of making sure projects like this happen and making sure these things become people's priorities is continuing to be in the room and continuing to express our enthusiasm and our support for projects like this that have these components. As soon as we step out of the room, as soon as we give up on the project, and the project dies. And I think about our own project with Williams and Russell, and how there were points where we were really slogging along. We definitely, and think at the end of the day, we had 10 project working group members, starting with like 24 project working group members, and it's because people had to drop off for various reasons. And if all of us had dropped off the project working group, at the end of the day, we wouldn't have had a project. And the reason we have a project was because people stuck it out. And this is a project, this is a goal that's 20 times as big as what we were working on. And so I mean, I think we're gonna always have political headwinds. There's always gonna be good timing and bad timing and setbacks and advancements in the projects. And I think the only way that we're gonna be able to get to where we want to go is if we're willing, as the people pushing for the benefits that we're pushing for, to stay at the table and ensure that they get implemented.
Thank you, Bryson. I will say this project has never been lacking passionate conversation, and that's why you all are at the table. We need all this perspective, the insight. I know, Dr. Richard, you have several connects to the state, as well as Mr. Modica, and I appreciate you saying this is not about who has what connection and where, but is it about leveraging our collective weight to make sure that folks are being held accountable. I see one more comment. I will take the comment from Ms. Goodlow.
I know, but I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I have to say this. Today I walked by a meeting at my bureau in our big conference room, and there were 20 Caucasian people in their meeting about housing in Portland. And it struck me that this is every day, and that no one, the thought came to me, did anybody in that room think about the fact that there was no person of color, that it was 18 men and 2 women. Does that occur when these kinds of conversations are going on of who's in the room and who's at the table? You know, I have supported this project from the start. I supported Williams and Russell from the start. And as a longtime government employee, it's very challenging for me to continue to do this when I see rooms and tables where there's no one that looks like me sitting at that table, that there's, you know, either a woman or a person of color. And I just need to stress to those folks that work at ODOT that are participating that when they walk into rooms, particularly those folks that are not melanated, and you see that there's no person of color there, I stress to you that it is important, if you call yourself an ally, to say, hey, there's no people of color at this table. There's no one here from that community participating in this conversation. It is incumbent upon us that work in government to continue to say those things. And I'm very emotional about this because I've watched it over and over and over again. And as I have considered retiring, knowing that if I leave, who's going to be the one to say anything? Who's going to ask those questions? And so I just challenge those folks that sit in those rooms to look around and see who's there and who's not there. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie. And we need your voice there. Now, Mr. Washington, I said I was taking one more comment. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. You know, my friend, come on, unmute. Mr. Washington will be the last comment, and then we'll have closing.
Well, you know, I struggle with this one. I'm struggling with on this, the reality of sharing in it, you know, because they did a very good job of explaining and expressing my sentiments, you know, but instead of us, I just get this weird rub and we keep looking outside of us, but the same issues exist in this room, you know, and so there's the accountability. Before we start holding accountability to others external of us, I think the accountability factors have to be in this room, and it's how we use ourselves, who gets propped up, who gets opened, and the creating the conflict within the space, you know, after 9 years of going, you know, and you get run. It's so funny. I was sharing this with Joe earlier about an example is that you get out in this lane, in this highway, all of a sudden somebody run you over, you get the license plate and all that, they even get out the car and come rob you. And then when you see them in a public space, they go, well, this is not a good place for you to hold me accountable, you know? So, and it gets a little crazy. So, but I do understand what it's saying, what is being said here, but I think this whole issue around community benefit is really where the real rubber is meeting the road. You know, people, we get tired of going and appealing. You know, I got a phobia against sitting down, you know, appealing to a panel of white people. You know, it gets a little old for me. I don't particularly want to do that. But I also find that we have to wind up doing that amongst ourselves, you know, our own people. So, you know, I'm a little, I appreciate this conversation. I'm a little bit guarded on how I express myself in this arena today. But I could honestly tell you, Doc, Modique, you know, rather if it's Jeff, any of these, you know, I could seriously understand what the angst is in the room. But I think self-assessment would be the beginning. Thank you. I yield back.
Always profound, Mr. Washington. Thank you. I will say again, I appreciate the authentic conversation in our principles of agreement. I never have to remind you all to be true to that. There are opportunities for us to continue for those who are willing to step in, maybe some new voices to continue to advocate where those who have been carrying the torch for such a long time. As David mentioned, goal is to move construction forward, keeping the HSJV working and moving. In regards to next steps, you heard Monica share about the goal of revisiting and coming to alignment on the next phase of construction. Also, there is an OTC meeting that will take place on May 7th. We want to lean into what Chair Brown mentioned and making sure that we continue to represent all of those voices in those spaces. Even as Bryson shared, this is our opportunity to speak to those elected and to acknowledge and represent even the gaps that we have talked about. I know they're working to replace a seat on the commission. This would be an opportunity for a person of color as we lost Commissioner Chapman. So I would encourage you all. I know that you all might get tired of my emailing and texting, but I want to make sure that you have all of the information to be in the spaces that you have capacity to be in, to continue to advocate for the community and to share your passions. Our next touch point with you all will be on May 13th. And that will be just as we're going to the commission. We invite you all, continue. I appreciate the time when I have opportunity for one-on-ones. That's another time where I can dive deeper with you all and relay your comments and sentiments to the project team as we're moving forward. And so I want to thank you all for your time this evening, and trust that you will continue to communicate and to advocate for our community to make sure that we have what we need to move forward. So with that, you all, thank you and good night. We will be talking with you soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.